Yeah, under 19 to classic.
Hello, Hereford and Worcester Ops. 1 minute to 2. Just to say, Ian Rundle at the cricket and obviously able to do a piece into the 2 o'clock. There is no play currently. We've just had another literally sharp 3 or 4 minutes of rain here, but it's meant they've had to put the covers back on again, so we won't be resuming at 2 o'clock. Well, play should have resumed at 2 o'clock. The players took an early lunch after light rain fell at just before 1 o'clock. But again, we've had a sharp shower about 10 minutes ago, so the covers are back on and the players still in the pavilion. Worcestershire 119 for 6. They've lost 4 wickets today in the 25.1 overs that were possible this morning for a net gain of only 73 runs. 2 wickets to Code and 2 to Steckety. Adam Hose has 37, and with him Joe Leach is yet to score, but Worcestershire still a long way behind on the board, and the rain at the moment is helping them by taking a little bit of time out of the game. Their initial target is to get to 257 or beyond. That would mean they've saved the follow-on, but at the moment they're still quite a long way short of that. 119 for 6, no play currently after some light rain. The cover's still on here at New Road. When play does resume, there'll be commentary on the BBC Sport website and on the app.
John? Oh, hi, man. Is Joe in today? Yeah. Oh, is he?
at 2:35, providing there is no rain between now and then. So 2:35, resumption of play. 16 overs have been lost in the net.
Just to say to watchers of the stream and listeners on the BBC Sport website and app here at New Road, we have had rain both before lunch, before the scheduled lunch, and indeed at just about the time we were scheduled to restart at 2 o'clock. So the restart time is now 25 to 3. 25 to 3 is the scheduled restart time, with 63 overs as a maximum remaining on the day. So 16 overs have been lost due to rain, and really more rain than bad light in truth so far today. Yorkshire 407 all out yesterday, remember. Worcestershire started the day 46 for 2. They're now 119 for 6, and play will restart at 2:35.
Good news, folks. Good news. Exceptionally good news. Team Cakes at the start of the Ladies Pavilion, the magic doors are open. These four are already clear. And should the rain return, I remind you, it is very dry in the Ladies Pavilion. Team Cakes are off for sale.
Play will resume at 25 to 3. We should have resumed at 2 o'clock after the players took an early lunch. We've had 2 sharp showers either side of that lunch break, so in total 16 overs have been lost in the day, and at the moment that is to Worcestershire's gain because they're 119 for 6 in reply to Yorkshire's 407, so still 288 behind. Adam Hose has 37. He started with 26 deliveries before he made a run, but he got going just before that rain interruption, and Joe Leach with him, who has yet to score, but Haynes for 29, Azhar Ali for 22, Pollock without scoring, and Waite for 11, all out this morning. 2 wickets each to Code and Steckerty, and Yorkshire tactically now, you feel, driving the game from here. They'll be wanting to enforce the follow-on. Worcestershire's target to stop that happening is 257. The players just returning to the field of play. 119 for 6 Worcestershire, and commentary will be on the BBC Sport website and the app. So the covers just being drawn off by the tractor. Stumps will be put in and we'll be underway again here at New Road on this third day. We have lost around about 6 hours cricket now, over 2 days and a little beyond one session, and there will be a further couple of minutes delay because in drawing those 3 covers off the ground, the tractor driver has gone a bit too quickly. We are praising the efforts of the ground staff. They really are mustered here at New Road, but now with the first part of the system of covers on the back of the tractor and the other 2 not, they're going to have to be reattached in order that play can actually start. The stumps are in, and fair play to George Hill, and I think that's Finley Bean under the cap there, who are just enabling all those connections to be made, and hopefully then the rest of the covers system to be towed off the playing area. Yeah, the ground staff have been on and off with the covers through this game, and I think the more of that story is don't try and remove them too quickly, and they're now just being slowly towed over the rope and away in front of the pavilion. So we went off in the middle of a George Hill over at about 7 minutes to 1. So Jonathan will pick up commentary with Hill's over to resume. More of that last story. Don't drive the tractor too quickly with the covers.
Here is George then, number 18 on his back, right arm over the wicket. First delivery to Adam Hose. Sees the right-hander just stride forward and leave it. Been talking to George's mum actually, Gail, along with Mel and Jane Wiles, Yorkshire super fans, always round and about. Catching up with John, the Yorkshire coach driver, and also Tony Sweeney, who's a regular listener and messages in. Martin just now on the way back as well, 7 Casino night. It's nice to catch up with the people who correspond with you now and again when you meet them at the games, isn't it? Here's George Hill, good attempted Yorker I think this time, and Adam Hose is well up to blocking it.
I had a message during the lunch interval. One correspondent had watched back the 2 wickets where there appeared to be a doubt in the batsman's minds as to whether they got a good call from the umpire or not. The view seemed to be the same as ours with the LBW. Was it too high? Haynes didn't think. Haynes clearly thought it was.
Hill to Hose, who's fully behind this and pushing back to the bowler, no run.
The view about the Waite dismissal was that he probably didn't think he hit it. And then it had gone straight off the pad.
You know, if you'd have stuck the gun to the head where I was standing in the box next to you when that happened, I was doing an update, just about to finish an update at the point the wicket was taken, and the sort of feeling of it as it travelled didn't feel like it was directly off the bat, so I did think that there was some thigh pad or something involved, but you think to yourself, well, maybe he just nicked it onto his thigh pad and it travelled a bit more slowly. George Hill's latest delivery just pushed into the offside by Hose, no run. But
only Matthew Waite will know whether he hit it or not.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, I mean, as he turned away, he clearly looked disappointed with the decision, so I'm guessing he's saying he didn't. Here comes Hill again, and Hose watchful and pushes back to the bowler. So that was a tidier start from George than we've seen from him so far. As I mentioned earlier, 4 of those 21 runs that he's conceded in 4 overs now, because that was a maiden, were a James Wharton throw, trying to throw the wicket down at the batsman's end, striker's end, and missing, going for 4 overthrows. So 119 for 6.
I have some scores. Do you have any correspondence over the lunch, or was that the...
Only to tell me that there's no 4:30 Leeds update because they're doing commentary of Leeds versus Manchester United from Oslo.
Okay. We'll just leave that. We'll just leave that as a factual position. Steckety is to resume from the Diglis end in and bowling to Joe Leach, who goes to push a little bit at that, but from a very upright position, and it goes through to Johnny Tattersall. So in the women's ODI, which is taking place further down the M5 from here in Bristol, Australia batting first. They're 127 for 3 at the halfway stage. 25 overs gone, 127 for 3 they are against England. Remember that game in the multi-format women's Ashes. Here is Steckety again, and Leach all pushes at that, not really getting that front foot far enough across, and that's taken again by Tattersall. In the Championship then, First Division, Surrey, 355 and 0 for 1, not 399, so Surrey 44 behind there. Merchant Taylor's School, Northants 219 and 144 for 2, still trail Middlesex by 86. Sorry, they now lead Middlesex by 86. Middlesex 277 all out. Give the score from Canterbury in a moment, where Kent definitely are behind Warwickshire. Steckety in once more, and Leach again sort of takes half a step back and then appears to push at the ball and play inside the line. So Steckety at the moment with a good line to Leach. He is being forced to think about playing at these. At Canterbury, Kent 171 and 136 for 3. Still trail Warwickshire by 242. Steckety towards us, and Leach does force that. That's a nice looking shot off the back foot. He'll get full value for it, out over the rope at the deep point boundary towards the ladies' pavilion, which is now open for tea and cake, as Dave Bradley so gleefully told us. It is a joyous moment, it must be said. At Taunton, Somerset 500, Hampshire 172 for 8 in reply. And lastly, in the First Division, Essex 282. They're between innings there. Lancashire all out for 145. So handy lead for Essex, 137. Steckety into Leach. We think he tried to turn that into the leg side, but he got it off the outside half of the bat, and it dribbles to the right of Matthew Revis, and they'll pinch a single. Second Division, at Cardiff, Glamorgan 132 for 7 against Leicestershire. There was a lot of rain problems there over the 3 days. Derbyshire very nearly up to Sussex's first innings total at Hove. They're 394 for 8. They're just 8 runs behind Sussex, all out 402. And we were talking about Matthew Potts this morning in sort of relevance to Matthew Fisher and England. I'll come back to that in a moment after Steckerty's delivery to Hose, which just about drops down on and pushes it out on the leg side. Gloucestershire 51 for 4 in their second innings. They're still 86 in arrears, and all those 4 wickets to Matthew Potts. That's what's happening elsewhere. Here, Worcestershire with a lot to do, Jonathan. It feels like the game this morning has tactically gone in a very clear direction.
Not totally clear.
Steckerty in, and Hose defends.
In the sense that, so for example, I've heard differing accounts as to whether or not Yorkshire would follow on if they were in the position to do so.
Oh,
and they've had some rest here, the bowlers, haven't they, because they were off the field there from 12:52 till 2:35, so an extended lunchtime period, which won't do any harm in that respect.
I just think that there is the threat again of showers still for the rest of the afternoon. The more time that is taken out of the game, the more it heads towards the follow-on option, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's probably, if you were a betting man on it, it's probably sort of 55-45. Here's Hill in and bowling to Joe Leach, who's played that nicely off his legs. Matthew Revis striding out greyhound-like on his way towards the mid-wicket boundary, and with a bit of grease out there from the precipitations. It was a genuine slide as he reeled that ball in. They got 2.
Yeah, Hose, I think, might have thought about a third, but Revis has got a good arm, even on a long boundary like that. Should say we've lost now a total of 16 overs on the day's play, as things stand.
Still 61, though. A lot of cricket isn't there left to be played. Hill to Leach, who again flicks off his legs, but Revis in the right spot this time at mid-wicket to field. Yeah, not inconceivable that the match could finish today. They'd have to wrap these wickets up fairly quickly, you would think, because in most cases with follow-ons, the bowling side is that bit more tired, and it does often take longer to pick up the 10. If you're good enough to pick them up, that is, of course. So it'll be hard work, I reckon, as Haley's in again and just gives Leach too much width there, and he's smacked that away through the covers. 4 runs.
Yeah, that was it. We've had a couple of forcing shots off the back foot. That was very much I'm going to go towards it, and crunch that away. Batting wise in the championship this season, Joe Leach just the one. I mean, the average is 14 and a half, just the 150, but over his career he has proved a more than handy lower order bat.
Hill there to Leach, who pushed into the offside. James Walton fielding, no run.
You do hope the weather holds for that ODI to give England the best chance they can of trying to win that Ashes, which is, I'll say, over 3 different formats.
Yeah, Hill in, and Leach trying to play to the leg side of straight. Does so to Ben Code at mid-on, no run.
Yorkshire fans who have gone to Bristol, or indeed Worcestershire supporters as well, will know there isn't a lot of cover there, so you really want a decent day for a big crowd like that, and I think they were either actually sold out or very close to selling out for that game, so just proves the growing appeal of the women's game.
Here comes George again, and Joe Leach, that is, solid behind it and pushing to Ben Code once more to complete that over. 41 gone, 132 for 6 with Leach on 11 and Hose on 37.
I'm sure I'm not the only person who's called him Jack Leach now and again.
Yeah, you did. At first, you do think that, and then once you get going with that, you sort of okay, aren't you? It's like last year, poor old Harmsy, you were talking about. We were both saying what a great guy he is. When we were down at Hove, he was calling Jonathan Tattersall Jonathan Tattershaw, and we mentioned it, and he just couldn't get out of doing it because that was obviously
What was in his head?
yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard he tried, he kept coming down on it.
The high-stepping Steckety into Adam Hose at the start of a new over, and he bunts it back straight at Steckety, who feigns to throw the ball down and doesn't, keeps it in his hand.
Just introduced myself to him actually during the rain break as they were coming on and going off again and that sort of thing, and I stopped him and had a chat about rugby league. I said, the lads say you're a league fan, you're a Broncos fan. He said, yep. Talked a bit about Darren Lockey, the great player, who I once happened to give a lift from Elland Road back to the team hotel.
Steckety in. Oh, that's in the air, but it's going to be 2 bounces out to Revis, who's right on the boundary at backward point. Had ground to make ground to his left, which he did, and there's only 1 run. Hose, you feel if he just feels bat on ball a little bit, I think Leach has shown that he can hit a ball very hard, clearly, but are these two going to say, right, we're not going to be here for pushing and prodding around with singles, because that kind of hasn't really worked. So we might try and break up this attacking field a bit. And Yorkshire still have 4 slips in. Steckety, Buzzard Oliver stand behind him, and that's too short, and Leach has powered that away through a wide mid-on for 4.
First time I think I can recall seeing Joe Leach bat in a commentary I've done, and when he hits it, it stays hit.
He's a burly figure, can we say. Strange enough, he probably looks...
Harry Brooks a burly figure, but a different burly, I think,
Yeah.
to which you're referring.
Sometimes Joe in sort of civilian clothes and a blazer looks slimmer than he does in his kit sometimes. Down the leg side from Steckety, Leach not interested. But he does have a good number of decent first-class scores to his name. Now 32, had a long stint as captain. And I think if you get to a point after a spell as skipper where you just want to concentrate on your own cricket, here he goes back into his crease and turns it up to mid-on. It can, I'm sure it's draining as a captain, because you've got to think about your own form as well as all the other tactics out on the field. Yes, you have team meetings and you can have chats with the coaches at lunch and tea and rain breaks and such like, but once you get out there, there's an element of thinking on your feet. And Leach waits again for Steckety, and again it's aggressive, and a good stop by Rickleton. Got his glasses around the back of his cap, the South African now. It's pretty good light, quite bright, even just a little bit of sunshine threatening to creep through, but it's been another day where you feel that there's a dark cloud and a shower around the corner. Hopefully the forecast for later is not accurate, because there are thought to be more on the way. Steckety in once more, and at the high elbow Leach fires that up to mid-off. It doesn't beat the fielder there. It was, I think, Matthew Fisher in the sweater. End of Steckety's over. He's bowled 10 overs, 2 for 29, and Yorkshire 139 for 6. Their initial target, remember, is to get beyond 257. That is the follow-on figure. And if it's less than that, Yorkshire have got a decision to make in terms of how they try and win the game from this position, if they end up with a biggish lead. Revis just asking whether he should be on the single or on the rope on the leg side, and the answer is the latter.
Change of bowling as well. no longer George Hill. 5 overs, 1 maiden, none for 27, so brought it back to some extent in those last couple of overs after slightly wayward start by his usually tight standards. And Matthew Fisher, right arm over the wicket from the New Road end, bowling to Hose, who's not seen much of the strike really, has he, since they went back out there.
That's very rare for Dave Bradley to announce a bowler bowling after he's bowled a ball. I can only assume there was some Ladies Pavilion cake involved there.
I was going to say he must have had a mouthful of lemon drizzle or something like that. Just the 5th time Joe Leach has batted against Yorkshire, by the way, in first-class cricket. Fisher in, bowled him! Spectacular! The stump goes cartwheeling back, and Adam Hose has gone for 38. And Worcestershire are in big trouble at 139 for 7. Still a lot of runs to avoid the follow-on, or the possibility thereof.
Lovely sight for Fisher, and Johnny Tattersall will be delighted he made that bowling change. Just the second delivery, and Hose, that was a bit of a curate's egg of an innings. Very slow initially, couldn't get off the mark for 26 deliveries, then played some nice looking forcing shots. The rain break and the lunch break probably didn't help him in that regard. He kind of got into his rhythm a bit and hasn't quite established it since he got back. And Yorkshire with a breakthrough within about 15 minutes or so of the resumption. So Hose goes, and this Worcestershire card is threatening to become a series of starts but no big score. So in the middle order you've now got a 22, a 29 and a 38, and all those 3 batsmen are now out. And here is Josh Baker.
Yeah, going back to Joe Leach, who's the man not out. He played against Yorkshire for the Leeds and Bradford MCCU back in 2012. Made 11 and also made 5. Anthony McGrath actually got him out on both occasions. But in county matches, then he was LBW to Adil Rashid for 27, and caught Plunkett bowled Patterson also for 27 in his only previous 2 innings match against Yorkshire in county cricket. That was for Worcestershire back in 2015, so doesn't see much of the Yorkie bowlers over the years. 15 to his name, Josh Baker. Right-handed, new man in. They've got the 4 slips in place, point, big gap through the covers. 3 men on the 1 either side of the wicket, and then a long leg is not all the way out as Baker turns his first delivery into the leg side.
Kind of what you might say, and I know it's perhaps not the largest sample size, but a kind of typical numbers for somebody batting at number 9. Average is 16, and he's made 1 first-class 50 in his career. This season, though, has only played the 1 first-class match prior to this one.
Ball short of length, plays that nicely enough over the top of it, dropping out into the offside. No run. Starts to make you feel old, doesn't it, when you see Josh Oliver Baker, born 16th of May 2003.
I wrote a book in that year.
Did you?
About 20 years ago. That's staggering.
What was your book?
Oh, I can't possibly say. It was about rugby. 15 aside.
Here comes Fisher, good delivery, leaves Baker, having a flash at that wide of off stump, no run. Well, I did the same. I'm happy enough to mention it was a rugby league book.
Oh yeah?
Super League the first 10 years, 2006, so you beat me to it by 3 years.
So the first 10 years of Super League were 96 to 06, were they?
Yeah, well, listen, I can't claim all the credit because it was a joint effort, and very much Phil Kaplan, who wrote it with me, was the driving force, so definitely not claiming all the credit. Phil, if you're listening. It was his call in the first place to put it together, and invited me along, if you like, to be part of it. As Fisher, latest delivery, is pushed out into the offside there by Baker to complete that wicket taken over by Matthew Fisher. Spectacular wicket, as I say. It's always that way, isn't it, when you see stumps flat to the floor. Fisher 13 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 49.
So he's trotted off the field at quite some pace, so I think we know probably why that is. Will Luxton's going to be on the field for 1 over, I would suggest, as a sub. 139 for 7, Worcestershire, and with a lot of work to do here. Steckerty is to continue from the far end, and that's crunched away by Joe Leach. Luxton won't be able to reach that. That's gone again away through a pretty square cover for 4 more. And at the moment, that ball makes a pretty nice sound off Joe Leach's bat. He's crunched 3 boundaries now away, out through the offside in his 19.
Certainly time it.
Very forceful shot. That's taken one of the slips out. So Rickleton now is plugging that gap. Luxton is just behind the square, but he's almost on the boundary at backward point. And the response from Steckerty is a short one, which Joe Leach ducks underneath. So if you've perhaps joined us since play resumed, weren't around this morning, 46 for 2. Worcestershire at the start of play. In the morning session they lost Haynes for 29, Azhar Ali for 22, Pollock without scoring, and Waite for 11. 2 wickets to Code and 2 to Steckerty. And now Adam Hose, since play started again at 25 to 3. Steckerty in, and another short one. Leach again ducks out of the way. Looks back down the pitch. That's called as a no ball by umpire Milnes.
Ken Lashley has emailed in, that's BBC West Yorkshire Sport at gmail.com, asking if we can let the live stream people know that the commentary is well behind the video. The Adam Hose wicket, the umpire was putting the stumps back, as the commentator said, bowled him.
Right. How do we do that? I'll try and send a message. So the pictures are ahead of the sound.
Sounds like it. Joe Leach, a bit of gardening following that delivery. Steckerty making his way back. And a couple of fairly sharp showers. Bit of blue sky overhead away to the right. And then the rest filled in with cloud. Steckerty to Leach, who flicks it off the hip down to fine leg, and there was some bat involved, according to umpire David Milnes, who signals for. Yorkshire very much on the attack in the field, although Will Luxton has been dropped out to deep backward point. Leach waits. Steckerty bounding in again, short of length, flicked off the hip. There is a sweeper out there as well coming round from mid-wicket. Looks like it's Dan Moriarty. Yep, keeps them to 1.
I've passed the message on about the audio and the pictures on the stream not being quite in line. Apologies for that at the moment. We'll try and get our colleagues at Worcestershire to look into that. Steckerty into Baker, who's clipped that very pleasantly down the ground. That might go all the way for 4. There's a chase for George Hill, but he won't be able to haul that in. That's a pleasant shot from Baker's tall man, and just reached a little bit forward. It was full of length, But he still timed it pretty well. 156.47. So still Adam Finch and Ben Gibbon to come, but Worcestershire now 101 shy of avoiding the follow-on. Stackerty again to Baker. He'll get a run here. That's just steered out into the leg side. Fisher's back on the field. So just that one over off the playing area. Whether Luxton will stay out there. No, he's going to depart. So isn't anybody else who needs to return to the pavilion for whatever reason. 156 for 7. Update to come in a minute or so for BBC Hereford and Worcester. But Leach has 24 and Baker has 4.
And Fisher, he's going to carry on. New Road End. Ground still looking in really good condition despite the amount of rain we've had here. Just the wicket ends where it's a bit patchy, where it shows you how much moisture there's been because they're all dark in colour.
Yes, most of the square is still pretty green. It's not straw-like in any way, is it?
No, and the outfields held up well. It was slow, as we've mentioned, particularly on day one. A little bit better yesterday and has been better still today. Leach punches his first delivery to James Wharton at short extra cover.
I've got a question for you about, I've not seen this because I can't comment, but the outfield at Headingley, just ponder the condition of that at the moment, given how dry the first 2 months of the season have been, how the ground staff have been able to keep a good fielding surface around the country. Obviously here it was underwater during the winter, as it often is.
Fisher in, Leach stepping into that but shouldering arms, no run. Yeah, they've had problems with the drainage at Headingley at the Howard stand side of the square, so much so that you may or may not recall, but a game against Lancashire was abandoned before the end. At one point in a Division 1 match last year or the year before, an injury to Dominic Leach, who was fielding the ball, sort of prompted the eventual abandonment. Yes, Fisher and Leach, top of the bounce, punches that one just into the onside where Ben Coe drowned from mid-on to field, 1 run. Clearly not as bad as being underwater, like the pictures we've seen here over the years. But yeah, the Howard stand itself, I guess, has created a problem in that it's another tier on from what the football stand used to be, so casts a longer shadow. There's a small part of the pitch which is barely ever in sunlight until late on in the day when that's swung around over the western terrace. They did do some work on the drainage at Headingley as a result of that.
Worcestershire 157 for 7 in their first innings, so another 100 runs plus 1 will get them beyond the follow-on target. Joe Leach has 25 and Josh Baker has 4. The one player out since the resumption at 25 to 3, Adam Hose, clean bowled, off stump, knocked out of the ground by Matthew Fisher for 38. It took him an hour and 3/4 to get those runs, and he'll have been frustrated having got back in again after the rain break to have not re-established his innings. 2 wickets to Code, 2 to Steckerty today, and Worcestershire still with a lot of work to do. 157 for 7 they are, in reply to Yorkshire's 407 all out. Commentary continues on the BBC Sport website and on the app.
That latest delivery was just aerial for a moment off the bat of Josh Baker. Couldn't quite master getting right over the top of it. Landed out in no man's land towards extra cover. Here's Fisher again, nicely flicked off the legs this time by Baker, who's got a good contact on it. Mark Steckerty, in fact, not Ben Coates, made a bit of a meal of fielding it, but has managed to keep it inside the rope. They got 2 when they might have only had the 1. Coe's just removed his sweater to go on bowl again at the Diglis end. 159 for 7, so they've added 20 for this 8th wicket in the last 2 overs and 4 deliveries. So just kicked on at a little bit of pace, but still obviously a long way behind where they need to be to avoid the possibility of being asked to follow on.
Yeah, overall Yorkshire bowling figures. Code 3 for 23 from 13. Matthew Fisher 2 for 52 from 14. Mark Steckerty 11 overs, 2 for 46. They're the main bowlers. Revis had 2 overs last night for 8, hasn't bowled today. And George Hill 5 overs, none for 27. But here is the returning Code from the Diglis end, and Leach pushes at that, and straight away you get the impression that Code is in a good rhythm today, and that was right on the money. First ball back, no sign of a loosener there.
No, and it just slightly dangerous, wasn't it, for Joe Leach, because he did rather just sort of hang his bat out of that, didn't he?
The 3 close catches in front of square at Code's earlier spell. They aren't there now, and Leach goes back into his crease and he'll squeeze a single out on the offside. Rickleton trots towards the ball at point. There was always going to be one there, and now there will be a field change for Josh Baker. So Revis comes into a more orthodox backward point. Rickleton moves round. A straightish cover, and there's also a mid-off on the offside as well as the 3 slips. Deep backward square, mid-wicket and mid-on the onside, so a 6-3 field. Here's Baker, who plays that in the V up to mid-on. That's where... Oh, that's not... Is that Fisher up there? It's not, is it? That might be Wharton, I think, because he's still got those lightweight pads under his trousers from fielding at short leg. Quite bright conditions at the moment. It's a quickly changing sky here at Worcester over the last 2 or 3 days. That's pushed out by Baker into the offside. Again, no run. Or as Michael Klinger used to say, I have friends who are regular Gloucestershire supporters, no run! You see, there was somebody, we talked about overseas signings yesterday and people who you didn't get for the whole season. Klinger was one of those. Here's Code in, or off the outside edge, but the half the bat really, rather than a thin edge from Baker out to Revis at backward point. Klinger was somebody who would come over, you know, in April and say we might not get to the start of the season, but he would stick around and he'd be here right through until maybe the end of August, and then he might have to go back and be part of, you know, domestic warm-ups and such like. But Gloucestershire had really good value out of him. Code in once more, and Baker stands tall, and that's punched out on the offside. Did he not, just testing Jonathan's memory here, did he not, might have been 2015, the year that Gloucestershire won the one-day cup, did he not make a big score in a semi-final at Headingley against Yorkshire? I'm testing.
Good question.
We might have to look the card up.
I was probably at a racecourse or rugby league match or something at that point.
We'll try and find it.
Matthew Fisher in the Worcester sunshine from the New Road end. Come in and bowl to Leach, short of length and just dropped into the leg side. An easy single because Revis has been sent back to the boundary. Just sad to see a Facebook posting talking about the death of Carl Goddard, who used to play for Bradford City. which is a bit of a shock. Same age as me. Played against him quite a bit during our teens. It's like marking a man when he was about 14. Here's Fisher, and that's pushed back by Josh Baker, the taller of the two batters out there. Walks away with a brief chat with James Walton. Standing wide, James Walton, or a wide stance, just a couple of strips away at short leg.
Yes, One Day Cup semi-final, 2015. Yorkshire 263 for 9.
Fisher in, and nicely pushed up through long off here by Baker. Full face of the blade. Is he going to have the legs to make the boundary?
Yes.
Just. So he's on to 10. 165 now for 7.
Yes, Yorkshire 263 for 9. Adam Lyth 96. And Gloucestershire 267 for 2. Klinger 137 not out.
It's coming back to me now, yeah. I'll probably try to erase it from memory. So these two doing pretty well since that Hose wicket fell. He says that, and there's an appeal for LBW next ball, but it runs away down to Code at incoming from long leg. They've got a leg by. Leach on 27, Baker on 10. It is the former on strike in a moment, but he's just put his bat down to retie his bootlace. So the field will change again. 3 slips, third man, long leg. Mid wicket is very deep. There's a point and an extra cover in the offside. Just one fielder really in front of the bat on the offside. Steckerty's coming up mid on. Fisher in, and Leach just pushing back to him, no run.
So in Weather Watch, the Met Office app suggests that we will be all right for the rest of the day now. So whatever system there may have been that was looking to threaten us with a thundery shower, our good friends at the Meteorological Office think we're not going to get it, which will mean 55 overs left on the day, and if that's the case, the game could move a long way in that time.
Short ball from Fisher here. There was a bit of pace about that as well, but Leach is not the tallest, and it was a relatively easy duck underneath the trajectory. So still Leach 27, Baker 10, 166 for 7 at the end of over number 47.
Now we were told that tea will be taken at 4 o'clock, and I've not had any change to that, so that's going to leave Yorkshire potentially with a 40 over final session in the field here today, which would be a long one. They would have, if it got that far, and they obviously hope it wouldn't, a second new ball available before the close, but these two have got about a long time to get there. And Baker faces a new over from Code. There is a strangled appeal for LBW, but the ball just dribbles out on the leg side, and umpire Milnes just spins a coin from hand to hand and puts it in his pocket. 166 for 7, so 120 runs have been scored today for the loss of 5 wickets. Revis just doing a little bit of stretching of his shoulders, flexing of his shoulders would be a better term. But Leach has got 27 with some forcing shots, and Baker at the moment has looked quite composed, not too ruffled.
What do they need? 258 to avoid the follow-on?
Yeah.
Yep.
257 would get them to 150 behind, of course. Baker again defends up to Steckerty at mid-off. So if you weren't with us earlier, Haynes LBW to Code. might have been a bit high in the batsman's opinion. Azhar Ali caught by George Hill at first slip, also off code, he made 22. Pollock was caught by Lythe at second slip off Steckety for a duck. Here is code in once more, and Baker not at full force, just plays that pleasantly out to Rickleton at cover. And then Waite, adjudged, caught by Bean off Steckety for 11. I think watching it with the naked eye, and obviously with the ear as well, felt as if there were two sounds, but I don't think Waite felt he hit it, judging by his reaction as he walked off. Solid defence again from Josh Baker. In a sense, if these conditions persist, they're similar to the batting conditions that Yorkshire had towards the end of their innings yesterday, when Revis was trying to get as many as he could with the tail. And with a ball that's 47 overs old as well, can Worcestershire hang around for a while and see what they can add? Baker, again, can't get that away through the leg side. And another tight over from Code. 15 overs. He's taken 3 for 24 with 9 maidens. That was another one. And Worcestershire can't get him away. Do you think we will see Moriarty at all here, Jonathan?
I was just thinking, I wonder how long it'll be before we just see him, just maybe they give him a try. I think it'll be a little while yet. They'll still trust in the seamers to try and finish this off. But he could do a good job in all sorts of ways in the second innings, couldn't he? In breaking things up a little bit for the seamers, as well as giving the batters something different to think about. Here's Fisher. That's run down to third man by Leach for a single. Steckety doing the fielding. So yeah, you might see, well, you expect to see him bowl at some point second innings, I would think anyway. Whether we're doing this first innings or not, I guess depends on what happens in the shorter term. Can they take 2 or 3 quick wickets and finish it off?
We're back to the 2 short offside catches in front of square again.
As Fisher bowls, it's on the up. Is that a catch? Just short of one of them. Just short of the wider of the 2. There's a bit more cover than extra cover, and had he been standing a yard in front of where he is now, you would think that would have been the end of Josh Baker.
And that
was Ryan Rickleton.
Yeah, body language suggests that might have actually just about carried. He was very slow to get up, and that would be a general indicator that he feels it's a chance spilt.
Fisher in again, and that is off the thud of the thigh pad into the leg side, no run. Matthew Fisher, who is normally one for wearing his heart on his sleeve, didn't look too disappointed with the whole thing, did he? And it would...
Truthfully, I was looking at the fielder, because they're generally the litmus paper, if you like, for whether a chance is carried or not.
Fisher turns, and in he comes, and again that is punched back by Baker. He's done that 2 or 3 times now, where his defensive shot, he's not quite getting fully over the top of it, and it is in the air for a little while, and you do wonder if they might bring somebody in leg side of straight as well. And here we go, Steckety is going to take up something like that position, about a strip away from being straight on to the onside of straight, and probably the best part of 20 yards, 19 yards or so from the bat. Fisher in, and that is top of the bounce, punched off the back foot by Baker through the covers. Rickleton looks pretty quick as he covers the ground to reel that one back in. Unfortunately for him, he flicked it too firmly back past. Moriarty was the man trying to help him out, but they stuck on 2. So 12 to Baker, 169 for 7.
The other risk, if Baker does that, will be a quart and bold to Fisher on the follow through if he got it on the top half of the bat.
Now, maybe part of Matthew Fisher's apparent look of non-disappointment compared to sometimes if he doesn't get a wicket could be that the over rate is -3 and he wanted to get back to his mark. The chance here is that they're appealing for caught behind, although it's one of those where a couple did, somebody else joined in, and finally 7 or 8 did by the end of the appeal. But there was no nick, says Chris Watts. That completes 49 overs of this Worcestershire first innings with the hosts on 169 for 7. Leach 28, Baker 12, and Fisher now has 2 for 60 from 16 overs that have included 4 maidens.
As it's been a struggle today for the hosts here at New Road. They rallied well yesterday with the ball, having had a poor opening day, to take all 10 Yorkshire wickets for 253. And today, again, it's been the bowlers who've been largely on top. Code with not an appeal from him as he starts a new over the ball that goes out in the leg side off the pad. The appeal came from chiefly behind the wicket, not from the bowler himself. It will go down as a leg bye. Leach doesn't seem too protective of Josh Baker here. He's not saying, you know, I need to face 4 balls of an over. Baker on 12. Right, and again it's played pleasantly into the leg side. Moriarty does the fielding. Wharton is at mid-on. Baker played one nice clip to Wharton's left that raced away for 4. And Moriarty just stretching, maybe with the thought that at some point in the next 38 minutes is when tea is meant to be taken. He might be throwing the ball. Code in. Oh, and Baker does try to play an expansive drive at that, but doesn't get a touch.
Great length that, wasn't it, Ben? Ben Code drew him into it. Thought it was there to drive, and it wasn't quite.
Yeah, Yorkshire will be mindful of the over rate. There was one game earlier in the season where a side got docked 4 points at the end for being too slow in bowling their overs. Baker, again, that much foot movement, clips that up to mid-on. That's Code again, very much economical, on the money for accuracy here.
Moriarty may come into play because of the slow over rate at some point.
As I forget, I think it might have been Sussex who were docked 4 points.
They were against Yorkshire early this season. Paul Farbrace was pretty dirty with his team.
Code from the Diglis end in, and that is clipped straight to Rickleton at cover by Baker. Wasn't quite there for that shot, and Rickleton with the catch. He's left-handed, of course. It was to his left, so a natural side for him to gobble up the chance. And Baker goes for 12, and Worcestershire 170 for 8. And there is the threat now, potentially, of tea not being at 4 o'clock.
Of course, yeah, they could take the extra half hour. Took it well, didn't it? He struck it quite firmly.
Yeah,
but it made it look comfortable.
Yeah, nice. I suppose a lot of it is about the height of the catch. But Rickleton took it sharply. Another wicket for Code. And Adam Finch coming out. 5-wicket man for Worcestershire in the Yorkshire first innings. And
a man who's already wielded the willow to some effect against the visitors in the T20 here this season.
Well, Code will fancy his chances of a 5 for here as well now. He's got 4. And haven't really got... Well, one end is definitely open. How Joe Leach will play this now. Adam Finch not batted of a huge amount in first class cricket. Highest score of 33. And Worcestershire now, if they were, just say they even scrambled another 30, it could be 200 behind. I suppose it's possible, if they felt the weather was going to hold for the rest of the day, Yorkshire just might bat, but they equally might think they've got the momentum with them to keep going and to try and really tighten the grip on the game by the end of the day. So Finch waits for Code from the far end, and he defends out on the onside. But it is the kind of the 21st century way that the follow-on is not often as enforced as it perhaps would have been 15, 20 years ago. That'll be a 3:30 update for BBC Hereford and Worcester. And Johnny Tattersall just having a chat with Dan Moriarty, and we are going to see spin for the first time. So Code has 4 for 24 from 16 overs, 10 of which have been maidens. Miserly and accurate from Ben Code in this innings. Fisher now out of the attack, 2 for 60 he's taken, and Moriarty to have his first bowling match.
Dan Moriarty.
So here we go. Maybe the overrate situation is part of that. Maybe it just would have come on anyway. Would have been interesting to see Matthew Fisher bowling against Adam Finch, I've got to say. Looking forward to that little one after what happened earlier in the season. Adam Finch's first knock against Yorkshire in red ball cricket.
He's got long on, mid wicket and backward point all on the fence here to Finch, to Leach I should say.
So here he comes, left arm spin of course, Dan Moriarty. That's run down through third man. James Wharton giving chase will keep them to 2.
Yeah, they want to bowl at Finch here obviously.
Yeah, well they'll know that Adam Finch can knock it out of the park after what happened. But that's the temptation, isn't it? Against that spin. Leach solidly forward into the offside. No run.
Well, Moriarty's run is probably twice as long as it needs to be because he almost stops halfway through.
Here he comes again, left arm round the wicket. Leach dabs this one, a late cut, but can't get it either side of Wharton, who's down there.
So who would be the bowler with the shortest run up in county cricket, I wonder, at the moment?
Not sure. We've not seen Division 1 cricket this year, and I can't remember things like that particularly, I've got to say. Leach just laying his bat on one, running it out into the deep on the offside for a single. Adam Finch then to face Moriarty. It's just his third innings against Yorkshire in any form of the game. That 30 not out here in 10 balls back in match number 2, or as it was for Yorkshire, I think it was Worcestershire's first match of the blast, 26th of May, then 1 not out in the return fixture at Headingley. Facing up to a red ball here, being bowled by Dan Moriarty, who pushed that out into the offside bowler doing the fielding himself. Moriarty, final ball of the over, and Leach wants to get his hands to that, but drags it back on the bounce to the bowler. So Leach on 31, Finch yet to score. Moriarty, his first over going for 3, and Worcestershire 173 for 8.
Yeah, certainly Josh Baker's approach to the crease is reasonably short. I'm trying to think of whether there's anybody. Who was the Kiwi spinner who played for? I saw play for Durham earlier in the season. Slow left armour. His approach was pretty short as well. Code into Leach, who will take a single off the first ball of a new over. Out to wide mid on, and that will expose Finch. To the 4-wicket, striving for a 5 attack of Ben Code. Worcestershire 174 for 8. Having started the day at 46 for 2, there hasn't really been a substantive stand at any stage. And Finch defends. And Code can't quite field off his own bowling, but takes the pace off the shot. And it goes out to Steckety, who's at mid-off.
One or two people, Jason Bryan, letting us know that the audio's still out of sync about a ball behind, but as I've meant many times on commentaries, the stream is now to do with the BBC commentators.
Code in once more. And Finch defends out to Moriarty at mid-wicket.
Our concern is making sure that the audio service goes out, and as far as we're aware, that's going out fine. And obviously the commentary's overlaid over the pictures. So
174 for 8 Worcestershire. Joe Leach is still there on 32, but he's now been joined by Adam Finch, who's yet to score following the dismissal of Josh Baker. A 4th wicket for Ben Code, a clip into the offside, straight into the hands of Ryan Rickleton. He made 12, and Worcestershire today have lost 6 wickets in their progress from 46 for 2 to 174 for 8. There hasn't really been a big stand at any stage. Yorkshire have chipped away 2 wickets to Steckety, and Code currently has 4 for 25. Worcestershire have got to make 258 from, not from where they are, but in terms of their first innings total, to avoid the follow-on, and that looks an outside bet at the moment. 174 for 8 they are, with Leach and Finch together. Commentary continues on the BBC Sport website and on the app. Finch just flexing his knees as Code bowls to him. They take a sharp single, and Wharton's throw over the top of the stumps, in the sense that it missed rather than being over the top of the stumps and gathered by somebody by the stumps. So single completed, and Finch will keep the strike at the end of the over. 175 for 8. Finch is off the mark. Leach has 32 from 41, and he has played as well as anybody out there. Has just has a word there with his number 10 in terms of how perhaps they might go about playing the spin of Moriarty.
so Finch on strike, flexes at the knee as he waits and gets a full length delivery, which he pushes back. No run. Turns and comes in again, then round the wicket, and Finch over the top of that, pushes it back, no run. The 4 for 26 has taken Ben Code's average at this moment in time for his first class career back below 20. 19.97 to 2 DPs at this moment in time. In comes Moriarty again, and once more with respect, Finch punches that ball back to him.
That spinner's name I was trying to come up with was Ajaz Patel.
Played for Yorkshire at the back end of 2019. Moriarty round the wicket. And Finch once again over the top, respectfully pushing back to the bowler. So playing with care here, Adam Finch at this moment in time. There's going to be a change in the field. James Wharton has been asked to come in from, I think he was a gully, and he's been brought in at silly mid-off here, just off the cut strip. Moriarty, what's he going to serve up? Well, he ends up going the leg side of the tracks. That's turned around the corner, but Code field, no run.
Yes, Wharton's got all the protective gear on there. As you would expect, he's probably, what, 4 strides from the bat? No more than that?
Yeah, definitely no more. That's the problem with being there close in, isn't it? You got the ball short of length. Adam Finch drew the bat back and James Wharton jumped in the air to take evasive action. Shin-wise, I suppose. It was cut away for a single. And Finch on to 2, 176 for 8. At the end of the over, I've got to say, I once got cracked in the head in the days before helmets, fielding in a school game, probably about the same sort of distance from the bat that James Wharton was then. Somebody served up a juicy half volley, which ended up with me being in the changing room for quite some time. Straight in the middle of the forehead. Not fun.
No, indeed not. Code, keeping going from the Diglis end. Probably need a decent pair of pliers to get the ball out of his hand at the moment. Plenty of encouragement from Matthew Revis at backward point. 3 slips remain in. Finch on strike. And he's played that pleasantly into the gap. They'll get 1. They might think of a second, but Revis is onto it quickly with a sliding turn and stop. Didn't get the throwaway all in the same movement, but it was swiftly in. So Finch goes to 3. And Worcestershire crawling along at the moment. Yorkshire have got quite a grip on this. Code again with that slightly sort of sense of bowling within himself when he gets to the crease. He doesn't have a long stretch with that delivery stride. And Leach plays it up to Wharton once more. No run.
Some people's run-ups about generating pace, but I don't think Ben's really is it? It's more about just gets him there into the position he wants to be in, and it's much more about that feeling of accuracy with him.
There he is again, and Leach will try and pinch a single to Wharton, this time at mid-on, and Wharton again tries to throw the stumps down at the non-striker's end. He misses. Good bit of backing up by Rickleton. Prevents any overthrows. He did have an overthrow in the morning session where the enthusiastic Wharton tried to hit the stumps at the striker's end, and the ball eluded both Johnny Tattersall and I think a fielder backing up as well, and went for a shot that was worth 5. Code in once again, and that's all in the air, but to the left of Matthew Revis at backward point. Never a chance, but one of those ones that was streaky enough that further encouragement for Ben Code, particularly against Finch.
Matthew Revis just coming up to point. I'm just going to say -4 on the over right now, Ian, so it's getting worse for Yorkshire, even though they brought Dan Moriarty on.
Yes, and they haven't, I don't think they've really been crawling through these overs. Code into Leach. Oh, that's taken really sharply by Finlay Bean. It's a 5th wicket for Ben Code. Joe Leach is out. And that was a slightly odd trajectory. Almost seemed to go off the toe end of the bat. But Bean took the chance to his left in the cordon. And Worcestershire 9 down. And Joe Leach has to go for quite a well-constructed 33, but his departure leaves Worcestershire now very, very prone to being asked to follow on, if that's what Yorkshire want to do, if that's how they want to play it.
Well, they're both from Studley Royal Cricket Club, the Codes and the Beans of this world. So a Studley Royal combi to take that wicket. And tell you what, Ben Codes bowled superbly here, and that was a brilliant catch, wasn't it? Really, it was a really good sharp grab that was travelling, and it was a really good effort from Finlay Bean, who almost looked like he was catching the proverbial fly. So with Leach gone, last pair at the wicket, Yorkshire will be hopeful of wrapping this up, and then we'll get the answer to that question that we've been posing. Will they take the follow on? Will they go out and just have an extra breather, whack a few around? They've got a lot of time if they want to try and have a go straight away of taking these 10 wickets second time around.
But it looks like the lead's going to be well over 200, doesn't it? Which is a big lead. I suppose the other way to do it might be to think, if the weather is okay, we'll have a crash for 30 overs and put Worcestershire in tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them doing that, or even just 20. Just stick another 100 on, something like that.
Yeah. Worcestershire faced a few big chases this season already, notably the one at Hove, but that was only on the last day.
So that was the last ball of the over. Moriarty to bowl then here to Finch, who strikes firmly back to the bowler. No run. Ben Code, that's an 11th 5-foot. 231 first-class wickets to his name now. He's not quite going to be able to produce his best bowling figures one way or another, as Moriarty's latest delivery is pushed up to deep mid-on by Finch for a single. I say that because his best bowling figures in an innings are 6 for 25. He's already cost more than 25, and he can't get any more than 6 wickets. But he could finish with a 6-foot. Short leg. Johnny Tattersall standing up. Adam Lyth at slip. Point, cover, mid-off, mid-on. Deep mid-wicket. And a man 45 backward of square, as Moriarty's latest delivery draws a few yelps from guess who. One in particular. Yep, Adam Lyth, you guessed it. Dot ball. Ben Gibbon facing his first delivery there. Moriarty in again. And over the top of that and pushing back to the bowler, no run. What happens if you take all your wickets and you -4? Is that it? They'll have to have a discussion about it, presumably.
Is it not overall calculated at the end of the match?
Yeah. So they're going to have to do some work in the second innings to pull it back. Moriarty being turned into the leg side there, where Finlay Bean fielded at straight mid wicket, no run.
The last thing Yorkshire would want is to get 7 bonus points in the game, win the game, and then find the fact they lose 4 of them to a poor over rate.
But this has been happening to some teams, as Gibbon turns this latest delivery into the leg side and will pick up a single out towards Matthew Revis. So Moriarty, 3 overs, no maidens, none for 681 for 9 at the end of the 55th. There was a match, the match in which George Hill took the wickets at Old Trafford last year, where it got a bit farcical. Johnny Tattersall took the gloves off and bowled a couple of overs of leggies just to help speed up the over rate. They were running around between deliveries and all the rest of it. And you just think, well, why do they not move more quickly between deliveries in the first place anyway?
Yes, I think Paul Farbrace's thought about so there's a change at the Diglis end, and Matthew Fisher coming back on. Oh, sorry, it's Matthew Revis. I'm sorry, apologies, my error. And can he finish it off from the far end? I think it is inevitable now that when this wicket falls, tea will be taken. because we are within 15 minutes of the allotted tea time, and if we get beyond that period, then tea will come when the last wicket falls. Revis trying to accelerate that process with a ball which is just dabbed away off a thick outside half of the bat by Ben Gibbon. He'll pick up a couple down through third man, and the chase is, well, three-pronged actually. Hill, Bean and Moriarty.
I think Paul Farbrace's bugbear, well, one of them with the over 8 situation, is that they'll get round in good time, and then just as they're about to bowl the first ball, or after the first ball, they'll be another meeting of minds in the middle about
that was exactly the point I was about to make. Revis in again, edged, one just short. Finley Bean at third slip, just on the half volley. He knew it wasn't a full chance. Gibbon very nearly.
Andrew Broadbent, thanks for letting us know that the sound is in sync with the pictures for him. You noticed how quiet it goes when Yorkshire are doing well on the correspondence.
Revis in again, and Gibbon just turns his head away, looking at the ball but conscious of where it was going. Got out of the line.
Get a lot more when they're not doing so well.
That's always the way, isn't it?
Don't know what that implies.
I think your colleague Adam Pope at BBC Radio Leeds used to say that if Leeds United were doing well, the phone-ins were quiet. Revis from the far end, steered away, cry of no by Gibbon as it's fielded by Moriarty, who's at backward point.
He's in Oslo today doing that match, Leeds versus Manchester United. He's flown out there.
Remind me of the competition that's in?
The pre-season friendly
Cup.
World Cup.
Here, Worcestershire 183 for 9. Still a long way in arrears. And Gibbon defends. Back 224 in arrears. The end of Revis is over. First one of his new spell. First one today for him, in fact.
Massive following Leeds United in Scandinavia. Up there it will be packed, I'm sure, to get the opportunity to watch them in their own country. I know just from organising a Leeds United evening at my cricket club for the last couple of years, not this year but the one before, somebody from a Norwegian Leeds United supporters group contacted me. It was only about a few days before, asking for 35 tickets, but it was already sold out. But to turn him away. They were all flying over for a match that weekend, but obviously more than 35 in total. As Moriarty is in and bowling here to Finch, who pushes along the deck up to Steckety, a deep mid on, 1 run. That brings Gibbon back on strike, 3 off 10 for him so far. Here comes Moriarty again, pushes that one through, and it's pushed out square on the offside by the open face of Ben Gibbon's bat. He did ask a question of Alan Finch in terms of would he get through there quickly enough, but did so. George Hill just been sent back to sweep now at a backward point on the boundary between us and the cathedral. And here is Moriarty again, fielding nicely off his own bowling to that push back by Finch.
Is it a very Surrey thing to bowl in sunglasses when the sun isn't out?
Little skip, and he comes in, pushes that one through again, and pushed back by Finch once more. He's got that little skip. Dom Bess has eradicated that from his run-up, but ironic that he's kind of doing this bowling in place of Dom, who's elsewhere on loan at Somerset. He used to walk in a couple of places, then do a astride and then bowl. It's earlier in the run-up for Moriarty, whose latest delivery was fielded by James Wharton, who's in at silly mid-off now rather than short leg. Last ball of the over. Moriarty again floats this one up a little more, and it's flicked around the corner. Full length ball by Gibbon, 1 run. By Finch, I should say, 1 run. 7 to him. 186 for 9 at the end of the 57th over.
And 40, that will tick down, I think, to 43 remaining on the day. As Jonathan said, -4 is where Yorkshire are on the over rate at the moment. That will be a concern of sorts, but the greater desire is to get this last wicket and get the game into the next phase, whatever that may be, whether it's Worcestershire batting again or Yorkshire trying to score some quick runs. Down the leg side, the appeal only from 2 of the 3 slips and not from Johnny Tattersall for a finest of glances by Finch, but he didn't get a touch.
The following conundrum is if you feel that your bowlers have got through, so much work now that they're going to be tired out and less effective in the second innings. 57 overs. Let's just see who's bowled the most.
Well, Code 18 and Fisher 16. That's a big portion.
It is.
Revis in, and it's pushed at by Finch, but doesn't get a touch. He plays inside the line taken by Tattersall. Steckerty's bowled 11. So, yeah, the 2 main bowlers have done most of the damage, but equally they bowled most of the overs.
Yeah, Revis into just his 4th over here. George Hill's bowled just the 5, and Moriarty just the 4. So they've certainly got the option of bowling more.
Revis to the leap, edged, and just in front, I think, of Lyth. Did that carry?
No, I think it probably bounced halfway towards him, really, and rolled a bit, didn't it, before he got there?
He was certainly very low to the ground when the ball reached him. But Revis now drawing edges. Worcestershire, Adam Hose, top score, 38. And Revis in, that's steered a little squarer than he might have anticipated, I think, from Finch. They'll take 1 and they will come back for a second. Moriarty on the chase out towards the ladies' pavilion. Throws a bit high for Tattersall, but it's backed up. Yeah, 38 to Hose, who was 37 not out at lunch and didn't really get going again afterwards. Leach made a brisk 33, and Azhar Ali and Jack Haynes both out in the 20s in the morning session. So no large contribution really, and off his toes, Finch has clipped that wide of mid-on all the way up towards the rope. Steckerty will just hold it in at long on, and they'll come back for 3. I have to say one thing about Steckerty, his greatest impact in the game definitely looks to be with the ball. I think Yorkshire might be a little careful where they put him in the field. That would be my short-term observation of him. Revis in again, and almost Yorks. Ben Gibbon does well to drop a bat on it. That's what he was trying to do. Get it under the number 11's bat, but he couldn't do it, and it's 191 for 9 Worcestershire. Now if we get to 4 o'clock with 9 wickets down, we'll keep going.
Yeah, he didn't particularly gallop after that, did he, Mark Steckerty, I guess? So can Yorkshire finish this off for fewer than 200? Can this last pair have a real last stand and put the follow-on possibility out of reach? Anyway, Finch's first Ball faced from Moriarty, that turned to leg, where Bean did the fielding. Moriarty in again. Tosses this up, flicked past Bean and fielded by, there's your man Steckety at mid-on. So there's a few bowlers for Yorkshire who are fresher than the opening pair. You'd expect this man to come more into it, especially if conditions are going to be continuing to dry as this match goes on. Next ball punched to Steckety again at mid-on, no run. So there's 43 overs remaining today and 96 tomorrow. Still a lot of cricket to be played, considering 59 overs, or 59th over here, and Yorkshire have got through 9 Worcestershire wickets. Moriarty's latest delivery cut by Finch. Out to George Hill, sweeping backward point, 1 run. Moriarty in again. And Gibbon over the top of that, dropping into the leg side. They've got short leg in place. Did have a couple of close catches at one stage in the offside, not at the moment. And firm push by Gibbon back to Moriarty. Final ball of that over, which sees his figures at the end of his 5th. Reid, 5 overs, no maidens, none for 10, 192 for 9 after 59 overs of this Worcestershire first innings. And as I say, 42 remaining in the day. Still a lot of cricket to be played today. Conditions, as Ian suggests, look like they're going to hold in terms of the weather. It's bright and sunny out there at the moment, so theoretically, batting at the moment is probably conditions-wise as good as it's been in the match.
Yeah, indeed so. And Yorkshire with, I say, 9 wickets in 59 overs. Worcestershire took 10 in about 59 yesterday, but it cost them 253. And the advantage Yorkshire gained, of course, was that very, very strong first day. Finch faces a new over from Revis from the Diglis end and plays it up to mid-off. No run. Yeah, that does look a big part of this game now, doesn't it? The fact that Yorkshire are able to get such a good platform against some indifferent Worcestershire bowling on that first day. Revis in, short, and Finch tries to play the pull shot, but he doesn't get anything on it, and it goes through to Tattersall. Yes, if the game had started yesterday and Yorkshire 254 all out and Worcestershire 192 for 9, we'd have a very different setup, but with the big lead that they made possible by that century and plenty more openings partnership between Bean and Lythe, Yorkshire are bossing the game tactically now. They're driving where it's going. Extra man on the leg side for Finch. You've got a man now at mid-wicket and a mid-on. There wasn't a mid-wicket there before. Finch clips it straight to that fielder as Revis pitches that latest ball quite well up. Key wicket takers for Yorkshire. Code 5 for 29 with 10 maidens in his 18 overs. Fisher 2 for 60, Steckety 2 for 46. Sharp from Revis, got an inside edge, that Ben Gibbon, into the, if it didn't hit him on the thigh pad, maybe just on the, maybe have missed the thigh pad.
I think he's checking that everything's still in its place.
Finch has 13, Gibbon 4. And in, well, now very pleasant conditions. Finch has another short one from Revis, which he ducks underneath. Not called as a no ball by David Milnes, but it was called as one for the over. Revis in his 5th over. He hasn't bowled today until this spell. And with this past 4 o'clock, tea will now be taken either, in 8 overs time, if these two are still together, or when the wicket falls. And again, defended by Finch. Revis can't get through. Back up the pitch on the onside. No run, 192 for 9. Gibbon has 4. Finch has 13. There will be an update into the 4 o'clock news on BBC Hereford and Worcester.
Moriarty going to continue at the New Road end. Wind really has increased. It's been breezy on all 3 days so far, but I think you'd have to say, looking at the trees opposite us that are either side of the cathedral and in front of it, vista, they're blowing quite considerably, or being blown quite considerably, as Moriarty bowls then to Gibbon, who pushes out into the offside. No run. Matthew Revis just nips off the field to grab his drinks bottle. He's fielding out on the mid-wicket boundary. Moriarty in again. Punched back to the bowler and his follow-through by Gibbon. No run. He's got 4 off 15 now, so he's had a little bit of a look at it. They've added 13 for this 10th wicket so far. Moriarty floats one more leg stumpish and Gibbon turns it into the leg side. No run. Moriarty again, wide on the crease. Gibbon over the top, pushing out to point where George Hill does the fielding. No run. The usual smattering of spectators around the ground. Moriarty in once again, and Gibbon right over the top of that. Might get through this over before your update.
Might do. Wharton's switch to silly mid-off.
Here's Moriarty again, skipping in. Final ball was another dot, so 6 overs, 1 maiden, that should read. None for 10, 192 for 9.
And Worcestershire 192 for 9, so we're batting on beyond the scheduled tea interval here. Tea will be taken when this last wicket falls, or at 4:30 if it doesn't. Gibbon has 4, Finch has 13, but it's a day when Worcestershire wickets have fallen steadily. The overnight pair of Azhar Ali and Jack Haynes put on 48 for the 3rd wicket, but there's been no stand greater than that at any point since. Adam Hose, though, was the top scorer. He made 38, and Joe Leach 33, but 5 wickets for Ben Code have been the highlight for Yorkshire as they've steadily worked their way through this Worcestershire order. They look certain to be short of the follow-on target. The question will be, what will Yorkshire do? Will they ask them to follow on, or will they bat again and try and build a big lead? 192 for 9 Worcestershire at the moment. Finch and Gibbon, the last wicket pair together. Commentary continues on the BBC Sport website and on the app. And that last delivery, another dot in the scorebook, and indeed on the computers of the scorers, who are about 2 boxes to our right hand side here at New Road. We've got the written media to the right of our commentary box, and then the scorers beyond that. Here is Revis again, and again it's another short one, and Gibbon gets out of the way, sways out of the way. So the Worcestershire card, obviously 2 wickets fell last night, Roderick and Libby. Haynes LBW to code for 29. That was the first wicket of the day. Didn't look happy about the height of that. A grunt from Revis as he delivers that latest delivery, which is blocked by Gibbon out on the offside. Azhar Ali caught by George Hill at first slip for 22. And then a little bit of resistance either side of lunch once Ed Pollock and Matthew Waite had gone to Steckety, also in the morning session. Pollock without scoring and Waite for 11. Hose and Leach were together at lunch. Revis in once more. Gibbon on the bounce to Wharton at square at short leg. Sharp work from the fielder. Hose, though, having looked quite bright as lunch approached, and indeed when the rain came at about 10 minutes before the scheduled lunch interval. He then was bowled by Fisher by a beauty. He got 38. Leach succumbed to a good catch from Finley Bean for 33, and Yorkshire have tried to finish it quickly since then. Baker was Code's 5th wicket after he was caught by Rickleton at cover. Two slips and a gully now for, in fact, one slip, a gully and a leg slip. They've actually changed the field again. Lythe has gone to leg slip for Ben Gibbon. Tattersall might think about putting in somebody perhaps short on the offside. Yes, Rickleton's going to come in reasonably close there, or is actually Lythe going to move? Yes, they're going to shuffle the fielders around here. So Rickleton is going to go to the leg slip, and Lythe will come in at silly mid-off. So a slip, leg slip, a gully and a silly mid-off and a short leg. 5 close catches for the round the wicket attack of Revis, and it's defended to the last ball of the over by Ben Gibbon. Umpire Milnes gives him his cap, and Revis now has taken no wicket for 16 in 6 overs. More pads and protective gear being brought out by Will Luxton. So sense that Yorkshire are going to try and crowd the batsman here, Jonathan.
Yeah, maybe so. I wondered if it was worth another burst of, give them what they don't want, which is probably something a bit quicker. A Steckety and a Fisher would fit that bill. Cake on its way again. Nice. 193 for 9. Moriarty then sets himself, as does Finch. So short leg, silly mid off. Ben Cody's more of a catching position than a one saving position at a shortish mid wicket. And he comes into play with that first delivery, which is just pulled, really dragged legs out of straight by Finch. 14 on the board against his name. Moriarty, and again Finch goes back foot. Wharton takes evasive action. Ball is cut in front of square on the offside, no run.
Yeah, it was Bean who was getting all the pads a moment ago, so he is at short leg for the bat pad.
Moriarty, and again round the wicket, and that is punched, well watched and fielded. Sharply done by James Wharton, who was very close in at silly mid off. Moriarty again, and a firm push from Finch back to the bowler. Yorkshire lad says mission accomplished. New road to Froome in Somerset and then back to North Yorkshire with 91-year-old mother-in-law now safely enjoying God's country. Sadly too wet for a 99 PS. Yorkshire to bat again for 30 overs and set Worcestershire 400 to win. Moriarty in again. And that penultimate ball of the over pushed back down the pitch by Finch, who then goes and removes a bit of debris with his right glove. Over 8 still showing at -4, but they'll have a reassess, won't they, come the end of the innings stroke session, as Finch punches out into the covers this time. Looks as though it was Rickleton who fielded, no run. 193 for 9 at the end of that over. Moriarty 7 overs, 2 maidens, none for 10, so successive maidens from Dan Moriarty.
Worcester's 2 chases this season to win. The one at Derby was 193 on the last day. Jake Libby got 104 of those, and then here against Leicestershire when they were bowled out in the first innings for 83, and they were left to get 274, and that was a tense finish. Adam Hose and Gareth Roderick both made half centuries, but it was left to the lower order to finish it. Revis still with a multitude of post catches. Ooh, thinks he's got Finch, or at least Tattersall thought he had Finch down the leg side, but nothing doing from umpire Milnes. In cake news, Jonathan has bypassed the chocolate cube today. He's gone for the what looks like is that the walnut, do you think?
Looks like coffee and walnut, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And bit of carrot.
We are very well looked after here at Worcester, it must be said.
Yep. Yeah.
Revis in once more, pushed away on the offside for 1 only, I think. Yes, there was half a thought from Gibbon who came back for the second run, but Moriarty was on to that as he chased out towards the extra cover boundary. I don't think Gibbon was too interested in the second run. Finch 14 from 46. River seems to have had a little bit of a theory about attacking to try and get the strangle down the leg side. Finley Bean has been dropped out now to a mid wicket. There's another short one from Revis, and again Finch, I think, has only been really tempted by one of those, and that was when he didn't have a clutch of close fielders around him.
Yeah, you're asking about nicknames earlier. I mean, Matthew Revis tends to get Rev, but they could probably call him Monica with the grunt as he lets go of the short ball. Not that only Monica Sellers has ever grunted in tennis.
Well, Jimmy Connors had one of the
didn't he?
classiest ones. Here is Revis. They've taken the silly mid off out. And that's gone through, maybe off the glove. Tattersall was scrambling to take it, didn't gather it cleanly. It went to ground. And the yelp out there suggested there was contact.
Well, he brushed the side of his chest when talking to Adam Lyth, as if to indicate that it was off that rather than anything to do with batting equipment.
Finch waits again for Revis. He pitches that one a bit further up and he defends that out on the offside. Revis fields off his own bowling, but he's only got, with Moriarty moving, he only has 3 men in front. Well, he only has 4 men in front of square, full stop, and he has 1 man in front of square on the offside.
He's going to come round the wicket now for the first time.
So Rickleton's trotting away to deepish backward square leg. You've got an orthodox deep square as well, and again it's short, and again Finch ducks out of the way.
Yeah, not easy to get that short ball right, is it? And it's sort of a waste of energy if you could drop it too short and the batter can have an easy duck. It was a little bit better, but he still got under it comfortably, and I think Matthew Revis's body language suggests that he's also a bit frustrated. It's the stuff that's around the rib cage, isn't it? That's the real tricky one to deal with. The throat, that sort of area. Moriarty going to continue at the new road end of the ground with slip, silly mid off, short leg all still in place. Code still in that position on the wicket ends. Revis has gone for a breather out on the deep mid wicket boundary. There's a point. Rickleton at cover, Fisher at mid off and Steckerty at mid on. Moriarty left arm round the wicket, and Gibbon, nice figure of 9 about that push up to Matthew Fisher, no run.
These two have batted for 10 overs, so just from Worcestershire's point of view, just soaking up a little bit of time in the game.
Moriarty in again. Gibbon pushing to Fisher once more. Yeah, all helps. Gets you towards the end of tomorrow when you're on the wrong end of it. Potentially getting out of the hole. Moriarty in, and he plays that very late. Gibbon drops it right next to his feet. Wharton out there to do the fielding.
I wonder whether just this time may influence Yorkshire's tactical decision, whether this increases the chance of them actually batting.
Possibly. Moriarty in, firmly driven by Gibbon. Rickleton fumbles his take, but there's no run, so they've scored what, 15 in those 10 overs, but they have hung around at least. Moriarty in again, and pushed back to the bowler by Gibbon, no run. Yorkshire with 7 points so far, maximum bowling points, and 4 with the bat. And bowling points for Worcestershire, who are still 56 runs shy of getting a batting point. And that was the end of the over with another dot ball that he was able to leave this time. So not a lot happening out there at the moment. One of those periods in a match where neither a wicket been taken or runs been scored.
Just take you back to that last Yorkshire home game. At the start of the last day against Gloucestershire, there might have been a thought, probably from some spectators, about Yorkshire having a bit of a dart and setting up a chase, but I think you were curtailed by rain at the end of that match, weren't you? Is that right? And ultimately, that would have been a short chase, which turns to favour the batting side. Here is Revis in. Oh, that's jabbed Finch on the finger there as he went to play it out on the offside. Didn't attempt a firm scoring shot, but he may have had the finger trapped against the bat.
Yeah, they went off at 4:30 on the final day, and they decided to call it a draw at 4:50 at 200 for 6. But yeah, I think there was a thought that they would try and get a game on, but more in a moment.
Revis sprinting in, and Finch again gets the middle of the bat to it, just defends it again. No great weight of shot up to mid on.
There's got to be an element of balance about that, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Both sides have got a chance of winning the game. When you speak to Otis Gibson, who wanted to try and get something on, the equation that was being offered up, I think, was less favourable for Yorkshire, and it might have meant that really the only team who could realistically have won it was Gloucestershire. So I think they agreed to disagree and just play the day out.
Revis has a little jump in his crease. Finch plays that defensively out on the leg side to short leg. Wharton does the fielding.
You've got to take into account, the pitch gone down. It's a good pitch at Headingley these days, so it's hard taking wickets. It was the first time they'd used the Kookaburra, all those sorts of things.
And if you've only got, let's say, 50 overs, even 45 overs, the batting side can shut up shop pretty quickly in that if they were.
And that was
33.
realistically what it was going to be, something like
Yeah.
45 overs. It just wasn't really enough to
Whereas
give yourselves a chance.
this
of getting
might
10
be a
wickets.
long chase if this is that's the way Yorkshire want to take it. Revis around the wicket, and the sun's just gone in at the moment, and Finch ducks once more. He's having to be very determined not to be tempted by anything short here, Adam Finch. I say I don't mean this in a negative sense, but he's soaking time up, he's putting overs into the Yorkshire bowlers, and he's pushing the tactics of the game in a different direction. Finch waits again, he will squeeze a single here, just to the left of Finley Bean, at silly mid-off.
He's putting overs into the legs of the bowlers, but it's Matthew Revis here. He's only in his 8th over here, so it's not been a killer stint for him during this Worcestershire first innings. Moriarty's obviously soaked up a few overs as well, so all of that giving Ben Code and Matthew Fisher time to get some oxygen back in the lungs.
Edged and played down by Gibbon, past Adam Lyth at second slip, and that will run all the way to the third man boundary for 4. Nothing Lyth could do about that. And Worcestershire to 199 for 9, and heading towards the point where they may get as far as T, these two, and still force Yorkshire out to come out again afterwards.
Jordan Thompson's just come on as 12th man to replace George Hill temporarily, we assume, and it's going to be Moriarty to continue.
A lot of blue sky in the distance, but not much over the ground at the moment, so with the sun in, it's gone pretty overcast again just for the moment.
Moriarty in, and that's pushed out into the point region by Finch to get Worcestershire to 200 for 9. Takes him on to 16. They came together at the end of the 54th over, this pair, so 12 overs they've been together now, adding 21 during that time. Moriarty to Gibbon, pushes back firmly, slightly harder hands maybe than were ideal, but it got enough over the top of it to knock it along the deck. There's Moriarty again, and once more firm push by Gibbon, pushing out in front of his body, but he hasn't given a clear chance that we know of yet. Moriarty in again, Gibbon just pushing forward from the crease. Johnny Tattersal's presence behind him making him sit that bit deeper than he might if the bowler were a seamer. Here's Moriarty again, swept this time. It's gone aerial for a while, but 2 or 3 bounces before it crosses the rope. Struck pretty firmly by Gibbon. That will take his score into double figures. 13, 204 for 9.
It's a fairly small sample size. Ben Gibbon's only in his 14th first class match. His highest score is 30 across those 13 games. Adam Finch's highest score 33. So
Moriarty again, Gibbon right over the top and pushing into the offside, and there's no run, but they're chewing up deliveries here. End of the over, Moriarty 9 overs 3 maidens, none for 15. Gibbon 39 balls, he's chewed up out there for his 13, and Finch 56 now for his 16.
Steckerty sprinted to the Diglis end. Clearly either having had the nod, or wanting to suggest to Jonathan Tattersall that he's the man to try and finish this Worcestershire first innings. And it will be a change. Revis is being given a breather. 8 overs for 22. 6 of those overs today. And now Steckerty's going to come back. Maybe they'll dispense with the back of a length or even shorter tactic to these two. So Coda has 5 wickets, Fisher has 2, Steckerty has 2, and Yorkshire want 1 more. They've got all the bowling bonus points, they've got to have 1 more to move the game on here. And well, Worcestershire need 54 to avoid the follow on, but they only have the last pair together. Can they manage it? Steckerty in for a new spell, and that's let go by Finch. Just while Moriarty is in the attack, have you seen enough of him, Jonathan, to say whether he gives it a real rip or not?
He was turning it ahead only the other week. I mean, no idea of it from this angle, but he was turning it there. Well, it wouldn't be a big turning ground, but he was certainly getting some movement off the pitch. You would have said not loads of different variations yet.
Steckerty again from the Diglis end and bounced into the ground by Finch out on the offside to the left of Rickleton, who does the fielding.
I think there was his orthodox delivery, there was some sort of slider, and then barring that there was just the usual stuff of using the crease and varying your pace. And he picked up wickets, of course, so it certainly seemed to serve him well enough.
Obviously not born in the UK, but has a UK passport, Dan Moriarty. Steckerty, very much an Aussie, into Finch, who jumpily defends, but gets enough in line and gets bat on it, and Steckerty fields.
He was born in the UK.
His own bowling.
He was born in Reigate.
Steckerty?
No, Moriarty.
Moriarty.
Yeah. And raised in Botswana and South Africa.
Ah, there we are. So I had in my head he was born in South Africa but had a UK passport. Steckerty again. And that's caused Finch to play a shot which very nearly sees his demise. Wharton at short leg was waiting for the ball to pop his way, and it did, but there was no weight on that defensive shot at all, and it just literally dribbled out. So even though he is 5 yards from the bat, maybe not even that, it was well short of him. But that's why he's there. He crouches us. That's just dabbed out once more by Finch. Again gets bat on it, and Lyth comes out to field.
Tom Joiner Union says, brackets, before you say it, I know you don't control the stream. Can you get the fellows to sort it out? I don't even know where the stream... Where are they running the stream from?
About 3 boxes to our right.
Ah, okay.
So
they're not even in the same room.
No, I did send a message when one of our correspondents did say earlier that it wasn't in line. Is Steckerty? I'll go and have a word at tea.
We're down to that, Tom. The BBC commentators have got to walk to the stream box for you to ask if we can sort the stream out. That's the level of
service,
technical backup that we have here, and service that we provide for you. So
I would suggest this is going to be the last over, because tea was meant to be at 4 o'clock, and I would suggest that if they get through this one, Finch and Gibbon will walk off and come back again in 20 minutes.
Moriarty round the wickets, and Gibbon stepping back and cutting quite firmly to Jordan Thompson out there, just backward of point, no run. Wonder which union Tom's joining that you advocate even. Moriarty in, and that's pushed into the offside by Gibbon. Rickleton round to field, no run. Starts to become a teething snag, from well, more of a teething snag to a bit of disgruntlement, doesn't it, from the fielding side when the last pair go on. 204 for 9, Moriarty. To Gibbon again. He does want to push the ball with hard hands, doesn't he, Ben Gibbon? But so far it hasn't proved to be his undoing. This time pushing it to Fisher. Out at mid-off, no run. Gibbon waits, flexing at the knee. Another firm push. Another ball that goes to Fisher. And another dot in the mythical book as it is these days.
I think most scorers still do a manual book.
Do they do a book as well? Here's Moriarty once more, and Gibbon pushing firmly back to Fisher, who fields. Yeah, I've seen
If the computer fails...
John Potter with a sheet, yeah, I have seen John Potter with a sheet when I've been in the box. Well, it's in the press box at Scarborough, as John or the scorers are. Moriarty in again, and forced again by Gibbon. Fisher once again coming into play, but this time can't prevent the single. So Ben Gibbon will keep the strike and move on to 14 as a result. 205 for the loss of 9 wickets, Worcestershire, at the end of that, the 69th over of their first innings.
Right, so cricket is a very strange game on occasions. We were told that tea was at 4 o'clock. So we've now had half an hour beyond the scheduled time for tea with 9 wickets down. And at that point, I would have thought that we leave the field. Unless the umpires change the time of the tea interval because of that rain break. But there was no announcement. Anyway, we keep going. 205 for 9. Worcestershire, their target, remember, 258. If these two can get somewhere close to that, it will come into view. And Steckerty bowling to Ben Gibbon, and these two have added 26 together for the last wicket.
Tom Join Union says, thanks for that. I always said the nicest people in the country can be found in Worcester. And then it says, join any union. NUJ for you lads, I would expect.
I like to be called a lad. Here's Steckerty in short. He and Revis have persisted with the short stuff to these last two Worcestershire batsmen. It hasn't really delivered them very much.
No. I've always been sort of told that the joining a union for a solo freelancer type like myself is a complete waste of time.
Yeah. Fast and straight from Steckerty would be a suggestion. Will he try it? Oh no, that's a bit jumpy again from Gibbon on the defence, but he gets on top of it. If it is back of a length, these two are proving equal to it at the moment, at least defensively. And Worcestershire 205 for 9, still a long way behind in the game. Code and Fisher grazing in the outfield at the moment. Steckerty in, and We're still playing in the afternoon session here. Worcestershire are 9 wickets down, and they have got 205 on the board, so it's been a difficult day for them. They've lost wickets steadily. The biggest partnership, that of 48 for the third wicket between Haynes and Azhar Ali, who were the overnight pair, and since they've been split, it's been a steady procession of batsmen to the pavilion. But Gibbon and Finch, the last wicket pair, have hung around here and added 26 for the last wicket. Gibbon has 14 and Finch has 16, and they're soaking up time in the game, which will aid Worcestershire as they try and recover some sort of position of competitiveness, really, with Yorkshire driving the game tactically. 5 wickets for Code, 2 for Fisher and 2 for Steckety. He's in the attack at the moment, trying to dislodge this last Worcestershire wicket, but they're battling on. 258 will be the ultimate target to avoid the follow-on. They're 205 for 9 at the moment. Commentary continues on the